Imagine you're having lunch outside on a nice day. The sun is shining, the birds are singing, until suddenly the sun starts to disappear. Bit by bit, it gets darker and darker, until 5 minutes later, it's completely dark. Now, this isn't a cloud, and it's not nighttime, but something really weird is going on. Or how about if you ever look at the moon at night, and it's not the grayish color that you know, but it's blood red. Believe it or not, these events are actually related. How do they happen, and what are the causes? We get into all about eclipses right now. Eclipses might seem like some sort of magic, but it's actually just a giant game of shadow tag in space. The Earth, the Moon, and the Sun are in a constant dance around one another. And when they move into the right position, the perfect position really, they block the light of the other object. This is the Earth and the Moon. The Sun is the source of the light. Now when that light is blocked, it casts a shadow on the other object. And we have two different types of eclipses here on Earth. We have a lunar eclipse, we have a solar eclipse. First up, let's talk about a solar eclipse. This is when the moon moves into exactly the right place between the Earth and the sun, blocking the sun's light from reaching the Earth. Now remember, the moon isn't actually all that big, so its shadow doesn't cast over the entire planet. And during the solar eclipse, the moon's shadow is actually broken up into two parts. One part of the moon's shadow is called the umbra. This is the dark inner core of the shadow. Now this part of the shadow is not very big at all. It's only about 100 miles wide. However, if you're standing in this area, the sun's light is completely blocked. And this is known as the Path of Totality. The other part of the moon's shadow during a solar eclipse is called the penumbra. This is the lighter outer layer of the shadow. Now chances are, if you are seeing an eclipse, you are in the penumbra because the area is a lot wider than the umbra. Those who are in the penumbra experience what's called a partial eclipse, where the sun kind of looks like a crescent moon. It still gets dark, but it doesn't get nearly as dark as if you were in the Path of Totality. Because the area covered by the umbra is so small, seeing a total eclipse is extremely rare. While they happen on Earth about once every 18 months on average, they usually happen on places people can't see them and not in the same exact spot. Out in the ocean or on the desert, someplace we can't see it. If you wanted to know when your area will experience its next total eclipse, they happen on average about once every 375 years. So you're going to have to wait a little bit. All right, but don't worry, you can still see a partial eclipse about once every couple of years. Next up, we have a lunar eclipse. This is when the Earth moves between the sun and the moon. Now, the Earth is a lot larger than the moon, so when it moves between the sun and the moon, it blocks the sun's light, casting a huge shadow on the moon. Because the shadow is so big, a lunar eclipse can actually be seen by half the world at a time. Because of this, you can actually see a lunar eclipse once every 2 to 3 years. But when this happens, why doesn't the moon just turn black? Why does it go red like blood? This is from something called Rayleigh scattering. Imagine Earth's atmosphere like a giant filter. When sunlight hits it, it scatters away all of the blue light, which is why our sky looks blue. However, the red light is a little bit stronger, so it goes through the atmosphere and keeps on going. The red light curves around the Earth and hits the moon, lighting it up like a giant flashlight. When you see a blood moon, what you're actually seeing is every sunrise and sunset happening at that exact moment, shining all at once on the moon. Now, a blood moon is actually the result of a total lunar eclipse. Much like solar eclipses, lunar eclipses can also be partial. When this happens, the Earth's shadow only blankets a portion of the lunar surface, making it look as though something took a massive curved bite out of the moon. But if the moon orbits the Earth once every month, how come we don't have an eclipse every month? This has to do with the moon's tilt. Now, as the moon orbits the Earth, it's tilted very slightly, about 5 degrees. This means that most months, the moon is either a little bit too high or a little bit too low to be in the Earth's shadow. However, when it hits that perfect sweet spot at just the right time, we get a lunar eclipse. All right, everybody, that's all the time we have for today. Remember, there are two types of eclipses. A solar eclipse, think S for solar, sun. It gets darker, and the moon is blocking the light from reaching the Earth. And then we have a lunar eclipse, lunar, moon, where the Earth moves in between the sun and the moon, casting a shadow on the moon, which turns it red. All right, everybody, thanks for watching. Have a good one.